A 21-year-old wildcard walked off a tennis court in Germany, having just lost in straight sets. By most measures, that should have been the end of the story. Instead, it was the beginning of a bigger one, because 3 days later, that same player would be officially confirmed as the 29th seed at Wimbledon, the first Filipina in history to be seeded at a Grand Slam. And by the time this video ends, you'll understand exactly how a first-round exit in Bad Homburg became one of the most talked-about storylines heading into the championships. Her name is Alexandra Eala. Most casual fans only discovered her this year, but her story didn't start in 2026.
She grew up in the Philippines, a country with almost no tennis infrastructure and almost no history of producing WTA-level talent. At 12 years old, she left home to train at the Rafael Nadal Academy in Mallorca, Spain, thousands of miles from her family, in a system designed for players from countries that already had pipelines, funding, and tradition. The Philippines had none of that. What it had was Eala, and a family willing to send her across the world on the bet that talent could outrun circumstance. Here's the thing, junior success doesn't guarantee anything. Plenty of academy prospects disappear before they ever crack the tour. Eala didn't. She kept climbing, slowly, through the part of a career nobody films. Qualifying rounds, ITFs, the WTA 125 circuit. Read that again. There was no shortcut here, just years of unglamorous grinding before anyone outside the Philippines knew her name.
So let's get into the numbers, because they matter more than the hype. Eala enters Wimbledon 2026 ranked number 30 in the world, a 5-spot jump from number 35 the week before. Wimbledon determines its seedings based on the June 22nd rankings, and at number 30, Eala enters the tournament as the 29th seed and receives a first-round bye. Only the top 32 players in the world get seeded at a Grand Slam. She is now one of them. No Filipino, man or woman, has ever been able to say that. Here's what most casual fans don't know. That jump didn't come from nowhere. Eala reached the semifinals of the Berlin Open, where she beat world number 2 Elena Rybakina 7-5, 6-4 in the round of 16, then defeated world number 8 Alina Svitolina in the quarterfinals, before losing to Linda Noskova of the Czech Republic in the semifinals. 2 top 10 wins in one tournament, on grass, as a wild card. That's not a lucky run. That's a player who has figured something out about this surface.
And before Berlin, there was Birmingham, her second WTA singles title, won just 2 weeks prior. 2 trophies and 2 top 10 scalps inside a single grass swing. For context, most players spend an entire career chasing one signature win like that. Eala collected 2 in a month. Now, here's where it gets complicated, because this isn't a clean underdog story with no setbacks. Eala suffered her earliest exit on grass this season, losing 6-3, 6-3 to Belgium's Elise Mertens in the first round of the Bad Homburg Open, the tournament directly before Wimbledon. It was the 3rd time Eala and Mertens had faced each other, with the Belgian having won the first 2 meetings as well, including a 6-2, 6-1 defeat at the Madrid Open earlier this year. So what do we actually know and what don't we?
What we know, Eala has a head-to-head problem against Mertens specifically. 3 matches, 0 wins. What we don't know, whether that's a stylistic mismatch that will keep recurring, or simply a player she hasn't solved yet on a surface she's still adapting to mid-season. Stay with me, because this is where the tennis itself matters more than the result. Eala plays a left-handed, aggressive baseline game built around a forehand that can change direction late, and a backhand that, according to people who've coached against her, might actually be her stronger wing. On clay and hard courts, that combination gives her time to load up and dictate rallies. Grass takes that time away. The ball stays low, it skids, and points end faster, which should, in theory, hurt an aggressive baseliner who wants long exchanges to find her rhythm. Except it hasn't. If anything, grass has become her best surface this year. The theory says she should struggle here. The results say otherwise.
That contradiction is exactly why her Mertens losses are confusing rather than clarifying. Mertens isn't a big server who skips the ball through the court. She's a flatter, more controlled player who takes time away differently, through placement rather than pace. That may be the actual answer here. It's not grass that troubles Eala, it's a specific kind of opponent who denies her rhythm before she can build it.
Why does any of this matter for Wimbledon? Because as the 29th seed, Eala won't face a top 8 player until at least the 3rd round. That bye and that seeding effectively buy her time. Time to find rhythm against lower-ranked opponents before she runs into someone who plays like Mertens. If the draw avoids that specific profile early, her grass form suggests she's dangerous. If it doesn't, bad Hamburg becomes a warning sign instead of a footnote. There's a moment worth sitting with. After beating Rybakina in Berlin, Eala stood courtside, visibly still catching her breath, and said, "I am a little foggy right now. I think, I'm still shaking, and I was shaking in the match point too." No polished soundbite, no rehearsed humility, just a 21-year-old admitting on camera that she hadn't fully processed what she'd just done. That's not the language of someone performing confidence for cameras. That's someone who is still, in some part of herself, surprised by her own ceiling. And maybe that's the most honest thing about her right now. The rankings say she belongs, the seeding says she belongs, but she still sounds like someone who's catching up to her own story in real time.
So where does this leave her? A historic seed, a bruised result in her final tune-up, a head-to-head puzzle against one specific opponent that remains unsolved, and a Grand Slam draw that hasn't even been released yet. The story isn't over. The official Wimbledon draw drops this weekend, and when we find out who's standing across the net from Alex Eala in round 1, everything about this narrative could shift again. Do you think the Mertens losses are a real pattern, or just one bad matchup on one surface? Tell me what you think in the comments below. If you want the draw breakdown the moment it's released, subscribe and turn on notifications. This story is moving fast, and you're not going to want to miss the next chapter.